Hello and welcome to the latest episode of this audio support group. Are you prone to weekly highs and lows? Do you sometimes travel long distances only to find there's zero point in making the trip? Are you addicted to something and simply can't do without it despite the pain and despair it sometimes brings? We are here to help. We share your obsession with Portsmouth Football Club and we have something for you. Put this in your ears and life may seem just a little bit brighter. You are, of course, listening to the Play Up podcast. My name is Scott McLachlan, and I'm hosting this support group, and I will be ably assisted by Phil Sands and Reece Percival. Good evening, chaps. How are you?
Evening. You've had a quiet day then
This
today?
is a safe space. No, I wrote that 4 weeks ago. We haven't done a pod since.
It shows how
this
nothing's
is a safe
changed.
Space. Well, absolutely. We haven't won since either. This is a safe space. You know, we can talk about anything. We won't go around the table and introduce ourselves. I've already done that. So, how you doing after the bank holiday weekend?
Not bad. Disappointed, but as I said to you just before we came on, I think it should go to the wire. And if football panned out like everybody expected to do, it'd be very, very boring, and it never usually does. So I think there's hopefully some very big highs and not very many big lows, but we'll see. We'll see.
Do you know what? I can never remember a season where Pompey were comfortably mid-table. I honestly can't remember the last. I don't know when in the last 30 or 40 years where we've been comfortably mid-table, but I can't remember it. So, as you say, Reece, it's good. It's good to be excited one way or another. So we'll deal with the game last Friday. So after a 2-week break for the internationals, which saw Wales and Northern Ireland sadly miss out on World Cup qualification, Pompey were back in action and away to Norwich, who were comfortably mid-table. An early chance for Norwich was deflected wide after an audacious overhead kick from Kvistgarden. See that easy. And the home side produced a couple more chances, but deservedly took the lead. Ali lost the ball from a Norwich press, and they quickly worked it to Maatsen, who was left far too much room on the edge of the box, and he buried his shot into the bottom corner. Pompey were unlucky not to equalise straight away. A pack corner swung in and hit straight onto the bar, and then fell into the 6-yard box. But despite a few scrambled attempts, the ball could not be put into the Norwich net. In the second half, Norwich created a couple more half chances, but worryingly, Pompey were failing to trouble the home goal at all. Mousinho made changes, and those subs bore fruit. The lively Blair, who was on for Caballero, won a free kick out wide with 5 minutes to go, and it was fellow sub in Dazelle that swung a free kick into the box. Bishop's flick-on was almost certainly going to be put in by Paul at the far post, but Maatsen instead put the ball in when trying to clear. So, Pompey grabbed a vital point to take into the following Monday's must-win game against Oxford. I know you were there, Phil. Were you there, Reece, as well?
No, I was watching it on the box.
I was actually watching it in France.
Oui.
And on a very, very small screen indeed, so I couldn't really pick out much detail. So I think you can probably tell me a bit more about the game than I saw.
It was a bit of a game of two halves, really. I think when we saw the lineup, there was a bit of a worry because obviously the two sort of like glaring surprises in the lineup was Jojo Deer starting in the centre of defence and Luke Leroux starting in the centre of midfield. And the first half, I mean, Deer looked incredibly shaky. Leroux just didn't seem to get into the game. There was a lot of huff, there was a lot of puff, but there was very little in the way of quality. And you sort of watching it, you thought, oh God, this is another one of those away performances where we just don't deliver. But I don't know what the boss said at half time, but he certainly got the players more at it in the second half. I think Leroux was quite key in the second half. That he's one of those players that doesn't, to the sort of the untrained eye, doesn't really do that much, but he just kept everything very, very neat and tidy. He was economical with the ball, and his positional sense was very good. Deer sort of grew in confidence. He's very good with the ball at his feet when he's not under pressure. Not so good at the ball at his feet when he is under pressure. But what he does do is
I'm a bit like that as well, Phil, as you know from our walking football.
You've got similar pace, I think. But what he does do is he attacks the ball, and it's good to have. It's good to have that combination at centre back where you've got one man who sort of mops up and one man who really attacks the ball. And it was his role to attack the ball. He did come charging out a couple of times, not get the ball, mistimed it. He stuck in. He just grew into the game, which was really good to see because you've got to remember he's a young player. He's come from a very, very different league. Where, well, I'm sure you watched some French football over the weekend, Scott, didn't you? It's
I did, yes, yeah.
a glowing reference to the French league. I seem to remember from you.
Since it was two of the top three, I thought I'll maybe say a bit more later, but I thought it was appalling. But yeah, carry on.
Yeah. So yeah, he's had to acclimatise. I thought he did really well. But as you alluded to earlier, it was the substitutions made a real difference. Blair was attacking the wing that was quite close to where we were sitting, and you can see his close control is a lot better when you look at it close up than you do from my position, lofty position in the frat end. Fullback didn't know what he was going to do. You could argue that Blair maybe didn't know what he was going to do, but Blair had him on toast, and I think it was his persistence got the free kick. I think with Dizelle, again, we've lacked dead ball delivery. I suppose Marlon Pax has probably been the best, in recent weeks. But Dizelle whipped in an excellent ball. I'm not sure whether Bishop made contact with it or not, but he certainly
did. He certainly did.
Did he?
Yeah. It was an assist. As the much maligned Bishop gets an assist.
Yeah, and then much like I said with the first goal, fantastic finish from Mattison, instinctive poacher's goal. At the end, if there's ever going to be a team to win it was going to be us. So yeah, it's a long way, Norwich. You forget just how far it is.
Reece, bearing in mind that Norwich didn't look that bothered about the game, and that's what we were kind of hoping for their comfortable mid-table, as I described them. But then on Bank Holiday Monday, they go away to Millwall and win. So on the face of it, it seems like a really, really good result for us, doesn't it?
I think you need to actually stand back and kind of look at where Norwich are, because when we played them last season, I think they were something like 14 games without a win, and we just caught them at the right time. We played really, really well and obviously won. This season, they lost 8 of their opening home games straight off the bat. But in 2026, their form is as good as Coventry's, who are leading the league. So we play one of the informed teams in the league at home and match them. I thought a draw was a fair result. Whether they, as you say, they were thinking mid-table, they thought maybe they could just pick us off whenever they want. I don't know. I think this team's got something about them when they really go for it. They've got some character, and it's not the first time we've kind of come back. I thought Blair was excellent when he came on, but also I think it just shows how much we miss players who just do the bang average dirty stuff that nobody really watches it. And Dizelle was, I think, key to that. LaRue did play a good game. I think he's much better. He did what he needs to do. Wasn't particularly noticeable, but he did his job. But when Dizelle came on, he just had that little bit of quality about him. Ali looked very, very tired. Didn't really look at it. Caballeros similarly. Chaplin again, just bang average. So you can't complain to come away with a result. It was just really pleasing. Also, the crowd stayed with the team because we were 1-0 down. There's a little group that started singing we're going down on League One tour or something, but it got quickly drowned out by majority of the fans. And it just shows what you can do, what you can achieve when the fans are behind the team. So overall, a pretty decent day in the office.
Yeah, I really liked LaRue when he first came. He's technically really good, but my problem with him, and now seeing a bit more, is that he's a good 6-7 player, and we wouldn't have noticed the difference until we signed Adams. So we sign Adams, and Adams is an 8-9 player. He'll be an 8 or a 9 every game. I just worry for LaRue that he's not. He needs to grow into the role. If he is going to be around next season, I'm not sure whether Mousinho really likes him enough. We might move him on, despite whichever way we go in the summer. I think he could look at Adams and say, that's how I can impose myself on a game. And so that's what I'd like to see him do more is get up to those 8s and those 9 performances. rather than be a 6 or a 7 in midfield, because we got enough 6-7 players already. We need 2 or 3 of our players to get those 8s and 9s, whether it be Devlin, whether it be Adams, whether it be Keshi Anderson and Caballero on the Monday. So
I think Leroux's Leroux's not in the. He's a very different player to Adams. I think he's actually more in the mould of Andre Giselle, if I'm honest. One thing that I would say is, and despite his own goal, you watch the way Matheson plays. Matheson was the player that we were chasing at the beginning of the transfer window in the summer, by all accounts, and he went for 2.5 million, which was a price that was beyond our budget. And I think one of the things you said, for as well as Leroux paid, you can see what 2.5 million gets you, and 2.5 million gets you that player that you're talking about, the 8s week in, week out, and he's only 24 years old, and I think he'll go on to bigger and better things than Norwich. Sorry, Norwich fans, but I think he did illustrate the difference between paying £1 million for a player and paying 2.5 million. And I thought Bishop had a really good game against Norwich. I thought he led the line well. He showed why he is the person to lead the line, even when even when he's not scoring. He kept he kept 2 centre backs really busy for 90 minutes, and he was also excellent defensively. So I wanted to.
Fair enough. Well, let's hope he gets a goal soon, or 2, or 3, or maybe 4. Who knows? That'd be really nice if he starts with that. Shuts everyone up with a hat trick at the weekend. So on to Oxford, and what was being billed as a must-win game on Easter Monday at home. As it stood before kick-off, Pompey were 1 point above the bottom 3 with a game in hand. Keshi Anderson started for the first time on the left wing, with Andre Giselle also being returned to the first 11. Pompey started as brightly as the sunshine, and despite Oxford having the better of the early exchanges, it was Pompey who took the lead. An Ogilvy cross was headed into the box by Caballero, and when Bishop failed to control the ball, it fell to Anderson, who turned sharply and poked a shot on goal that found the corner via Cummings' glove. Disaster then derailed Pompey's good start. Ogilvy dived into a tackle after miscontrolling the ball, and much to the astonishment of nearly everybody in the crowd, a red card was shown to the Pompey left back. They would now have to play over 70 minutes with 10 men. And also, for the majority of the game, the crowd told the referee exactly what they thought of him. It should really have been 2-0 Pompey. So Pompey still had the ability to break well, even with a man down, and they worked the ball well into the box. Caballero, who had drifted in from the right, blazed his shot from 18 yards over the bar when he really should have hit the target. So it was still 1-0 at the break. Pompey pressing any time the ball was on the halfway line, and it was working to deny Oxford any real chances. But not long after the restart, an Oxford shot was weakly pushed directly at Spencer, who pounced to force it in. Schmidt had his head in his hands instead of the ball, and all Pompey's hard work was then undone. Oxford took the lead with 10 to go. Ali failed to win a tackle on the edge of the area, and the ball was floated to the far post and was met by the head of Lancashire to silence the Fratton Park crowd. Well, until he celebrated in front of the Fratton end, that was. Pompey's heads didn't drop. A few minutes later, the ball was worked wide to Pack, who slipped in Ali to cross from the byline. It flashed across the box to Giselle, who calmly tucked it into the corner. The home crowd now roaring Pompey on, but they were unable to create another good chance, and the match ended in a draw. The point doing nothing for either side at the bottom of the table. I think we'll come to the Ogilvy red card in a minute, Reese, but it really, really seemed like a game that we were well capable of winning after that first 15 minutes, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I was saying to people before the game, I hate the phrase "must win" games because very rarely does it actually logically apply. And being of a scientific background, logic and everything else is quite dear to me.
We've
But
got to
actually,
win at
on
some
this
point.
one, yeah, I know. But on this one, I was kind of actually this possibly is. But yeah, I mean, after when Ogilvy got the red card, you would have taken a point. But as you say, we look more than capable for the win. Anderson and Caballero is probably the best winging display I think seen all season. Caballero is actually on it. Keshi looks like he brought just a bit of quality into the team with his finish. Giselle and Pat looked pretty good in the middle, and yeah, it looked like we were going to come out top, and then. Yeah, just when you thought don't do anything stupid, we went and did something stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you name-checked Caballero. He was my man of the match. So it certainly wasn't Dazelle. I don't know what the match sponsors were on, but yeah, it was good he scored a goal. But I mean, it was certainly Anderson and Caballero's performances on the wings there, both offensively and defensively. Really, I really like Caballero. His hard work, his enthusiasm. You know, I mean, if you watch some of his celebrations when we score, I mean, they're more fervent than some people in the crowd. He's just brilliant. I really, really like him.
It's comfortably his best game, I thought.
And you could see. Sorry, you could see with his crossing that he's getting more to a point where he knows the area of the box he's trying to hit to try and give Bishop a chance. I think he was trying to cross from too deep, or he wasn't trying to take his man on when he first came to us. I think now he's been with us for sort of 3 months. I think Mousinho now has him playing exactly how he wants him to, and I think he's a far more dangerous player, and we saw that definitely on Monday.
Yeah, I think in the first couple of games, you'd see him use his pace once or twice in the game. I thought against Oxford, there was 4 or 5, maybe even 6 times when he sort of hit the afterburners, and yeah, he was good to watch. Wasn't my man of the match. I went for Keshi Anderson. It made me eat humble pie because we got there quite early. We were watching the players warming up, and we were watching shooting practice. And at 12:30, just moments before kickoff, I sent the following text message to a friend of mine. Having watched shooting practice before the game, all I can say is don't put any money on Keshi Anderson scoring, because he was woeful. His initially everything went about 6 feet over the bar, then it was about 2 or 3 feet wide, and I think then hit the post and walked off. And I thought maybe he's one of those players that doesn't do it in training, but turns it on when when it's the business hour. So yeah, great performance by him, and as you say, great.
I think.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, also, I think we in that game also we'll talk about the sending off tonight, but Schmidt, he just doesn't seem to be having the season that he had last season, and it's not the first time he made a complete balls up of a fairly simple chance. But I saw read online today that Mousinho's sticking with him, and rightly so as well, I think. But considering the season, you think about the players who we think would be solid, reliable, and really kind of bring a bit of quality. Really, not many of them have really had a good season. I mean, you would have thought Bishop would be solid. You would have thought Hall and especially Chaplin and Swift are the new signings, and now our goalkeeper seems to be. I don't know whether is it bad decisions. Is he trying to catch things? I don't know, but yeah, it's a sort he could have palmed that around the side and play percentages and job done. I don't even know when it's going in. I think it was he couldn't leave it because it was too close. But yeah, it's just hope he doesn't have any more of those rickets in the final few games.
But that sums the season up, doesn't it? As you just said, Reese, like all the players you just described, none of them have had more than one good game. So all season, nothing has worked for more than maybe a game or two. We've had periods of the season where we've looked decent for 3 or 4 games, and then something changes and we have a really poor run, and we're on a poor run as we are now, not winning in several games. And it just doesn't make any sense, does it? I mean, that's for me, the whole season just doesn't make sense. It's so confusing as to why. I mean, you can point to the injuries, but when we've had half decent teams out, they really haven't clicked. And that's that for me, that's going to be the story of our season, where we haven't had any consistency whatsoever.
I think QPR summed that up when we looked at the team sheet before the QPR game, and arguably we put our strongest back four, irrespective of injuries. If you were going to pick a back four this season, we had the back four that you would pick and the goalkeeper that you'd pick, and we ended up shipping 6. So as you say, makes no sense at all.
I think also one thing to say about Oxford was it was probably, from what I can recall, the strongest bench we've had all season. We actually thought we had some players on there who could come on and actually thought not necessarily make a difference, but actually they were good enough to actually kind of keep the team at a certain level. Whereas before we've had youth players on the bench, had players come on and they just not quite been at it, or they're just coming back from injury. But Monday rather, it did look like we had a pretty strong bench, and just hope we can get a couple of the others back. And we are peaking at the right time, but who knows?
How many senior players have we got in our squad now? I know you can only register 24 or 25, but we must have 30 odd senior players on the books.
Under 21s don't count, do they? That's
but we're
the
still
thing.
paying them. We're still paying them a wage.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
and I think
we've got a squad of 30 odd players, but you can't really pick a. I mean, you can't really pick a championship side and a bench from all of those, can you? You've got holes in some places, so we haven't really put together 18 players that you would say, yeah, that's a top 10 side, or that's a top 15 side, or whatever. Which we've got such a lot of personnel, but not an awful lot of talent or consistency.
I'd take a top 20 side right now.
Yeah, but I think the problem is, I mean, the injuries. I mean, I think somebody has actually done a spreadsheet of every game and the amount of injuries, and whether the players have been available or when they haven't. And I think something like our injury percentage is up about 6 or 7% compared to last time, as in the number of players who are unavailable to play in the game has gone up to about 16%. It's been really, really decimated. I feel we are a comfortable lower mid-table team when everybody is fit, but it's just not happened. But compared to everybody else, we've had it really, really challenging one this season. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, the only person who I know we took a risk on who was injured or had an injury was the Sunderland guy. But I'm not aware of anybody else who's
Franco Ume came in injured.
Oh, that was true. Yeah.
And we paid apparently $500,000 for him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose we've got to. No, go on, Reece. You finish off your point.
No, I was just about to say. Apart from that, I don't think people were saying, "Why are we signing injury duds and stuff?" I just don't think we are. We might well be taking risks on players with a bit of an injury history. I get that, but I don't think we'll be signing players who couldn't train or anything like that. But obviously, yeah, there's more risk, and probably that's the kind of financial level we're operating at the moment.
Yeah, we have to talk about the Ogilvy red card. I watched the highlights today, and the first time I'd heard Andy Moon's commentary, and I think his exclamation, scream almost, when the red card came out, and the exclamation of "wow" kind of summed it up for most people in the ground. I know you've had a really good look at it afterwards, Phil, and I think the phrase you said was you could it was in the category of you've seen them given. But I go back to the when it happened and the crowd. I think there was only one person in that ground at that point who knew that there was a red card that deserved a red card, and unfortunately that was the referee. I don't think anyone else, home side, away side, crowd, whatever, thought that was a red card.
I don't think it was a red card, but the referee the referee, in fairness to the referee, does the right thing. He sees it in real time, and it happened very quickly. I thought it was a terrible tackle from where I sit. I feared the worst, and then when I saw the replay, it looked completely different to how I saw it originally. But you see the referee; he's positioned where he is. He takes his time. It's not a rash. It wasn't a rash card out straight away. He took his time to think about it. He ushered the Pompey players away. He ushered the Oxford players away, and then he brandished the red card. And in fairness to him, he's handled that how he should. Now he's got the decision wrong. Fair enough, but he's seen it full speed. He's not had the benefit of multiple camera angles. He's not had the benefit of slow motion or whatever. But the bottom line for me is that whether he's got it right, whether he's got it wrong, Ogilvy gives him the opportunity to give a red card. It was an absolutely stupid moment by Ogilvy. It's a tackle that he did not need to make. And the thing that really bugs me is when someone gets himself sent off in the 14th minute of a game, everyone stands up and applauds them. I mean, I just don't get that at all.
I think they were
So,
applauding
no,
the
so-
effort, not the red card or the tackle.
Yeah,
But
I'll read you what
Go on.
Mousinho said. So Mousinho said after the game, in these games when the stakes are so high, if you were going to do something as monumental as that, I think you have to be 100% sure, and I don't think it's clear cut. I'm not going to hide away from the fact that I don't think Connor needs to make the challenge, which echoes your point, Phil. But if that's a red card, then there should be a fair few more. So,
I mean,
but he's right that he's got the benefit
Yeah.
of hindsight and he's got the benefit
Mm.
of replays.
I think everything Phil says is right. I mean, the thing that
Can I
for
come that in
me,
writing, Reese?
yeah, you don't need it in writing, you know. But I think, one thing he didn't take into account was the reaction, I think, of the players and the Oxford staff. That no player appealed for it at all. I think also he's got his linesman there, and I think you do. I think Messino's right as well. You do have to be 100% correct. And the guy rolled over like he had been shot, but none of the players were appealing for a red card, or none of them had their arms up or were in his face or anything like that. But it was really disappointing, but such a fantastic response to get back into the game and manage the game from the team perspective. It was just great. I really thought we were going to lose it when we were 2-1 down, but yeah, it's just
it was the same as Derby last season, wasn't it? The same as Derby. When Derby went 2-1 up last season, with 10 minutes to go, I was sat there, with my head in my hands, saying to my son, I think that's it, we're done. And then, of course, Atkinson comes up and gets the equaliser. So let's hope we get the same outcome as we did. Because I think the Derby was pretty much I think it was either the 40th or 41st game as well. So, we've been here before. It's repeat of last season. We managed to claw a point back from a game that we were losing, and we then went on a decent run.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens. I think the referee really should have taken a bigger deep breath and realised the consequences of what he was doing in the situation, and the fact that he then spent the next 15 minutes giving every 50-50 our way. I think really he was trying to help himself a bit there, I think. But anyway, as you say, Reese.
He had an opportunity to help himself, didn't he? And in the second half, but bottled it with a. I mean, was that a yellow card? Yeah, the second. I mean, I think you could tell that Oxford knew they got away with one because they took him off straight afterward, didn't they? I did think the second one was a yellow, without a shadow of a doubt, and he should have gone.
It was a very clever bit of football, though, by Devlin, because I'm bang in line with that, and you could see exactly what he was doing the minute he started to do it, because he thought, this guy's got more pace than I have, and he just veered across him. It's a bit like my son does this when I'm walking down the road, and he suddenly cuts across in front of me, and one of these days I'm going to trip you up, and it was a bit of that. I didn't think the defender could do anything about it. I mean, it's still a foul. It probably a yellow card, but Devlin's done a great job of drawing the foul. I think is the polite way of saying,
and highlighting the player's jeopardy as well. Yeah, and
Also, Devlin was away, wasn't he? I mean, he was a guy who's kind of chasing him back, and if you didn't foul him, he was bombing down the wing. So definitely yellow for me. So.
Yeah, I think it was a professional foul, but there we go. We'll see. Right, so quiz time, Phil. I think you're ready.
I'm ready. Unlike usual quizzes, I'm giving you both an opportunity to earn a bonus point before we even start.
Oh, there we go.
Because I'm that nice. So we're going to be doing a little quiz about the 2012-2013 season. So first off, who can tell me why I've chosen the 2012-2013 season?
Is it the last time we got relegated?
Yes, Reese, that's a point to you. Very good.
I'll start it on a cheerful note, Phil. When I'm
yeah.
But I'll let as you got that bonus point, I'll let Scott go first.
Okay.
So are you ready, Scott?
I am.
So question for you, and they're all multiple choice questions. You'll be glad to know. So Portsmouth began the season on minus 10 points. What was the total after the first 3 league games? Was it A, -8, B, -6, or C, -4?
I'm going to go -8.
It wasn't. It was -6.
Oh, okay.
Reese, who scored Pompey's first goal of the season? Was it A, Isel McLeod, B, Wes Thomas, or C, Ashley Harris?
Well, I'll go for A, McLeod.
No, it was not. It was B, Wes Thomas. Scott, which opponent did Pompey face in their first home league game of the 2012-2013 season? Was it Colchester United, Bournemouth, or Carlisle?
I'm going to have a problem with this season, and there's a very good reason for that. Is because I was walking a lot and not actually going to any football matches. So this season kind of passed me by, really, and we were also trying to save the football club as well. But what was the choices again? Sorry, I digress.
Did we start the season? It was our first home game against Colchester United, Bournemouth, or Carlisle.
Well, it wouldn't have been Bournemouth. I'm going to go for Colchester.
Oh, correct, Scott. Well done. Which goalkeeper made the most league appearances for Portsmouth that season? Was it Simon Eastwood, Mikael Anderson, or Stephen Henderson?
A.
Correct, it was Simon Eastwood. Scott, which club did Michael Appleton leave Portsmouth to join mid-season? Was it A, Blackburn, B, Blackpool, or C, Birmingham?
Blackpool.
It was indeed Blackpool. Well done. Okay, over to you, Reese. Who took over after Appleton left and was then given the job permanently? Was it A, Andy Orford, B, Guy Whittingham, or C, Richie Barker?
Oh, crikey. Andy Orford.
No, it was Guy Whittingham. Okay, over to you, Scott. How many different Pompey players scored league goals that season? Was it 11, 12, or 13?
Many different ones. Oh, well, we had a host of people, so I'm going to go for 13.
Well done, Scott. It was indeed 13. Eisel McLeod got a hat-trick in this season. Can you remember who it was against? Was it Crewe, Oldham, or Colchester?
Crikey. I'll go for Crewe.
It was Crewe. I was going to say great memory there, Reese, but I know that was a complete guess.
I don't believe someone got a hat-trick that season, but there we go.
Well, it was Eisel McLeod, and who did we sign him from, Scott? Did we sign him from Barnet, Colchester, or MK Dons?
I think it was MK Dons.
It was not. It was Barnet.
Of course.
Which midfielder, Reese, wore the number 7 shirt for most of the campaign? Was it Jed Wallace, Ashley Harris, or Johnny Ertel?
No, Jed Wallace.
Oh, you talked yourself out of it. It was Ashley Harris. So we've reached the halfway point, and the scores are tied on 3-3.
Wow.
Scott, over to you. Which club did Portsmouth defeat 2-0 away in September 2012 for one of their earliest league wins? Was it Hartlepool United, Stevenage, or Shrewsbury Town?
Was it on telly?
No idea.
That's
It was
funny. I thought the questions were asked by Phil.
It was a Sunday match, and the reason I'll tell you why is because I watched it in a pub in Lyme Regis. I think it was.
You better get this right now.
I think it was Hartlepool.
Scott, why would I ever doubt you? It was indeed Hartlepool. Well done.
And I'll tell you why. It's because the Sky coverage was focused on Hartlepool docks, and they've got a famous ship in the docks. I remember it like it was yesterday. It's weird, isn't it?
Very weird.
Yeah.
Reese, who scored the winning goal in the 2-1 Boxing Day victory over Leyton Orient? Was it Wes Thomas, Ashley Harris, or Jed Wallace?
A.
Who was A, Reese? Because I know you're not guessing here.
It wasn't Jed Wallace, it wasn't Ashley Harris. Who's the other one you said? Was
Wes Thomas.
Wes Thomas, that was it, yeah.
It was Wes Thomas. Amazing memory. Who did Pompey beat? Towards the end of the season, who did Pompey beat 3-0 at Fratton Park? Was it Bury, Scunthorpe, or Walsall?
It's to me, isn't it?
No, it is to you.
Yeah. Pure guess. I'm going to go for Bury.
Scunthorpe. Sorry, mate. So, Reese, what was the score in the relegation confirming defeat to Oldham? Was it 2-0, 2-1, or 3-0?
2-1.
It was 3-0. Out with a whimper. And in that match, who missed the penalty? Was it Wes Thomas, Eisel McLeod, or Ashley Harris?
Well, it wouldn't have been Harris, so I'm going to go for McLeod.
It was Eisel McLeod, correct. In this season, which young winger began to emerge as a fan favourite and often winner of the Man of the Match award? Was it Jed Wallace, Ashley Harris, or Ricky Holmes?
Okay, Jed Wallace.
It was indeed Jed Wallace. It was really. Who scored Pompey's final league goal of the season? Was it Wes Thomas, Patrick Aguiman, or Ashley Harris?
I'm going to go for Aguiman.
It was Aguiman. Congratulations. What was the final goal difference that Portsmouth had this season? Was it Was it minus 28, minus 31, or minus 34?
Minus 34.
It was indeed minus 34.
God, well remembered.
Scott, another depressing stat. How many league wins did Pompey record that season? Was it 7, 8, or 9?
I'm going to go bang in the middle 8.
It was 9.
Sorry, lads.
So the last question, Reese. The scores are 6-all at the moment.
Ooh.
Put this away. Put this one away, and you're going home with the silverware. Miss it, and it's going to sudden death.
This is going to be a Caballero left foot shot 20 yards over.
Here we go. Who were Pompey's opponents in their final league game of the season? Was it Doncaster? Was it Sheffield United? Or was it MK Dons?
Colchester.
You must remember that.
Colchester wasn't even one of the answers, Reese.
Wasn't it? So I thought
Doncaster.
Oh, Doncaster.
Sheffield United. Doncaster. It was not. We're going to go to sudden death. We're going to go to the decider.
Well, what was the answer, by the way?
Sorry, it was Sheffield United.
Don't you remember it was the game after we saved the football club?
I don't remember anything about the football in that season. So it was all about saving the club. I don't remember any. I know more about
the game. It was a massive day. Anyway, it
25 years ago. Yeah,
it was the day of the season,
and we lost, didn't we? The decider, and it's not going to be multiple choice. What was Pompey's final points total after deduction at the end of the season? And the winner is the person that either gets it bang on or nearest. So, Scott, how many points do we end up with?
I'm going to go for, bearing in mind we won 8 games, I'm going to go for 29.
Reese?
Well, you said we won 9 games. So that's 27 points. And we had a 10-point deduction, wasn't it? So that's I'm going to go for, what did you say, Scott?
29.
Oof. I'm going tactical, 28.
Somehow Scott's won this.
Why did you go that way?
Because I didn't think we would have got, because with the points deduction, I don't think we would have got that many draws. So
we did. We got a lot of draws. We actually got 42 points. Scott has somehow, despite missing most of the season by walking around the country and coming up with a frankly laughable guess for the total number of points, he's walked away with the prize. Well done, Scott.
I felt sure you'd go 30 or 35 or something.
So,
and since I said 29, I went, "Oh, that's stupid."
Considering we got a 10-point deduction and we only won 9 games, so that's 27 points. So take away the 10, that's 17. How does that? What am I missing?
Well, we didn't lose very often, but we didn't win either. So yeah.
But
anyway,
17,
thank you for that,
anyway.
Phil. I shall covet my trophy until next time. Maybe we'll see if someone else can take it off us. So something that I did write for a previous pod we didn't actually get round to doing, which was with the financial stuff, and obviously it's not for everybody, but I thought we'd go through some of it because I think we did do some interesting discussions on it on the WhatsApp group, and also I think it's worth. There's some of the questions in there that are worth asking. So we'll start off with the player trading model, which is supposed to be our bread and butter. So the income from this is all 24-25. So not this season, last season. So income from player sales was 620,000, and our 8-year total is 8.1 million. And the spend on players for 2024-25 was a reported 4 million, and the 8-year total is 11.7. So a big uplift in the first year of the championship. And the players we acquired, so we had 5 out of contract or free, which are Josh Murphy, Jordan Williams, Andre Dazelle, Matt Ritchie, and Jordan Archer. And then those that we paid a fee for was Abdoulaye Kamara, Elias Severenson, Ibani Bauer, Nicholas Schmidt, Harvey Blair, Jacob Farrell, Hayden Matthews, Thomas Waddingham, Cohen Bramall, and Ben Killip. So the first question I had on that is, hindsight is wonderful, but have we made some missteps when identifying players in the last couple of years? I think we've gone through this a few times before, but can you, so bearing in mind those names that we, obviously 3 of those have gone back from the transfer fees, so Cohen Bramall and Kamara and Sorensen, obviously we've disposed of because they frankly just didn't work. Brown was only brought in to cover the left wing for the second half of the season. So What do we think of that haul? I mean, not many. There's not many, if any, that are really first team regulars. That's only Dazelle and Schmidt. So how do we mark ourselves on that spending?
Well, Dazelle was a free, so I think the free transfer signings were you can't really complain at those. Murphy, Williams, Dazelle, Ritchie, Archer was an able understudy. But yeah, with the transfer, once we paid a fee for, Schmidt's the only one that you can really say has proven himself to be a success. You've seen flashes of quality in Blair. Matthews has had a couple of good games. Bramall served a purpose, obviously, but we've not seen enough of Bauer. I'd say where we spent money, we've not spent it well.
I don't think it's too bad, because I mean, I think certainly Blair, Farrell, Matthews, Waddingham, 4 of those were definitely development players, and ones for 3 or 4 seasons time. So it's a bit early to say, but you can't argue the actual ones that have made a meaningful impact, and that has been Schmidt, and I guess a little bit of Boat, but not very much. But as we said earlier, the season has failed because all the players that should have been championship quality just have not performed at championship levels. And that's pretty much all of them, which has contributed to where we are now. But I think, it's really hard, because I think it's until somebody leaves, it's really hard to kind of say that was a good signing. Because if Blair stays fit and has another season under his belt, you probably, and kind of pushes on for where we think there is definitely a footballer in there, I would say he would be. But I think development players, you've got to be. I mean, how long was Devlin here? He's been here 3 seasons now, is it? I think, and it's only in the 3rd season where he's actually, and he hasn't had a bad injury from what I can recall. It's only the 3rd season where he's actually really stepping up and making his mark. So, but yeah, it is the trading model we're operating in, and the financial level we're operating in.
I thought Devlin showed his mettle last season. To be honest, I think you wouldn't necessarily put him as a first choice last season, but he's made the kind of 3-year progression you'd expect him to make, which is first season feet under the table, bed himself in. Second season, show development, show that you can play 90 minutes, show that you can be called on when required, and then 3rd season, establish yourself as a first team regular. So if we're looking at, I think you're absolutely right, Reece, that we should look at them in that.
All 4 of those just haven't had the 3 seasons. They've been injured at different points, and they haven't had as much playing time as Devlin has. But I mean, you can't say that's definitely the reason why.
But the 3 Aussies are not kids anymore. The 3 Aussies are not kids. They're all 23, 24, 25 now.
No, they're not.
So,
Waddingham's Waddingham is. They're not. Waddingham's 19, isn't he?
Yeah. I think they're all pretty young. I think all of them are actually under 21. I don't think any of them contribute towards our kind of squad because of their age. But I mean, Farrell, you just don't know. But I mean, he's playing regularly, isn't he, at the moment over in Oz?
Although ironically, once we pointed out that he played 6 games in a row, played 90 minutes in each, he's apparently picked up an injury and is out for the rest of the season. So no.
There we go. That's the story, isn't it? But I mean, if you take Devlin, he bedded down in League One, didn't he? The signings we've just discussed there were all bought at the start of the Championship. So you're really risking your season by getting so many young, inexperienced players in. And I just wonder if we've learned something from the last couple of years or last 18 months, and So my second question was that: do we have to change the focus to support the senior squad better? Do we have to look at? I mean, obviously, if you look at some of the players we brought in more senior experience, they haven't really worked either. So, but if you look at the players we've picked up in January, like Kessie Anderson and Millie Ali, they have bags of championship experience, and have been effective when they've come in. Obviously, Ali's dropped off a bit, but his first few games for us were terrific. Do we have to shift the focus to that and build up a solid 18, 19 pros that have got the experience, and then have some kids in the background, or did we start off going too heavily, too young, too early?
I think we did go with the we put too much emphasis on youth and potential, and I think Keshi Anderson's quite a good case in point, because Keshi Anderson, you would say, is, and if you spoke to Birmingham City fans, you'd say mid-table in the Championship is kind of his ceiling, and we've signed him on a 2-year contract in January. We've not got him in on a short-term one. We've not given him a 6-month or a year's contract. We've got him in for 2 years, and I don't object to that. I think that's a good bit of business. The fact that we've got Adams for 2 years, I think, and I think that does sort of suggest that maybe there is a shift to getting some more experienced pros in. Experienced pros at the lower end of the market, not experienced pros at the challenging for playoffs end of the market. Because both Adams and Anderson have been jettisoned by their respective clubs because they don't believe they're of the level to get them into the playoffs.
But that's where we are. I agree with that. That's where we are. Is we are trying to get to mid-table, and if those players are some of the stepping stones for us to getting to mid-table regularly, then we might, in 3 or 4 years' time, we might be in a position. It's hard to see at the moment, isn't it? But in 3 or 4 years' time, we might be in a position to be jettisoning the likes of Adams and Anderson.
Yeah.
Josh Murphy a couple of years down the line, because they're not good enough for the level where we're at that point. But where we are at the moment, absolutely, we need players who've been here and done it for 100, 150 games at least. And that's not what we started the last season with. We brought in a hell of a lot of development players, and as we've seen, only 3 or 4 of those been effective.
And that's largely because we don't have a development pathway. There's no reserve team. We're not playing an under. We don't have an under 23 team in the Football League Trophy. There's nowhere for these players to develop other than sitting on the bench or getting loaned out to other teams, or getting thrust into the first team when they're not ready.
Yeah, and I think this if we stay up, this transfer window will be a quite a defining moment for the Eisners. Because let's face it, the play budget has increased year on year without a shadow of a doubt, but it does feel like January is a bit of a top up, and oh my god, we're not doing well. We need to get some better quality players in, and certainly I think the transfer window we've just had has probably been the strongest for a long time, it being in the Championship. And I think that will reflect in the accounts when they come up next year. But they've always said they'll do it slowly and build brick by brick. But this season, undoubtedly, regardless of if we stay up, it's looking like it's going to be not a good season at all. We have gone backwards, and that's where I think that the kind of financial model is rightly being questioned. They have, as I said, they've always transfer window. They've always increased the player budget. Let's see what happens over the summer. But whether they've signed those players because I know Mousinho's getting a bit fed up because he's performing miracles on a budget, I don't know. But it just highlights the financial pit that is the Championship, and it can be very, very easily kind of swallow you whole.
I think one of the problems we may have in the summer, though, is, as I think one of you was alluding to earlier, how big is our squad now? We've got, because of all these players we've got out injured, we've actually got a pretty sizable squad of first team players, and the under 21 players are all going to be a year older. We're going to have to jettison quite a few players if we're going to build and develop. And you look at that and you think, well, what do we do? Does that mean we're going to be getting rid of we're going to be selling the likes of Murphy, possibly Schmidt, possibly Devlin, the more marketable players, to bring more players in? Or are we going to be, letting under contract players go for free and having to pay them off? Because I don't see a lot of players that people are going to be fighting over to sign in the summer.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So one thing that's really annoyed me is the next section is the operational revenue. So revenue for last year was 24.5 million, an increase of 11 million over League One, which is due to broadcasting money. So match day revenue was 8.1 million, and the commercial and sponsorship was 2.2. I mean, obviously we don't have the facilities at Fratton Park to wine and dine people at huge expense, but. So my next question is, are we massively failing on the commercial and sponsorship where we compare ourselves to similar-sized clubs? Pompey has a history and provenance that is known worldwide, yet we have no international sponsors. Where obviously you might have a bit more of an insight into the commercial operation than me and Reece feel. Why haven't we like done the same as Wrexham and Birmingham and really focused on the provenance of the city in terms
Well,
of generating revenue?
I think you're viewing that with quite blue-tinted spectacles. I don't think Pompey has a huge provenance internationally. We've had a couple of successful seasons in the Premier League. We're not a big international draw, and Michael Eisner is not a big international figure in the way that Ryan Reynolds.
No, but I'm not talking about the football club. I'm talking about the area. I'm talking about Portsmouth as a city. I'm talking about 2,000 year history. First dockyard was built here. Massive influence in world order. As Alan Ball famously said, people go to war from here. We've got that provenance as a city, which is marketable. And
that doesn't get you a Malaysian betting company on the front of your shirts, does it? I mean, the thing is, we had in terms of our main shirt sponsor, we've got a contract in place with the university. We have brought in an international sponsor. The back of shirt sponsors are Silicon Valley AI company. I mean, I don't know anything about them, but they're an international company. I don't think we can't compare ourselves to Wrexham at all, because Wrexham has a huge marketing drive behind it. Companies are falling over themselves to get their names on Wrexham shirts on their stadium or whatever, because they have Netflix, they have a global audience who are going to watch their story. There's a story to tell. These are failings of the club, obviously, and as we've said,
but that's the irony. We've got the man who you would have thought would have been front and center with that kind of thing. Michael Eisner. That was his bread and butter when he was at various Paramount, Disney, and all the rest of them.
We had the opportunity to do that, and we didn't. Michael Eisner talked about doing that, talked about building a global brand, talked about utilising media, then decided that he thought that people didn't like Americans, didn't like the brashness, and decided that's not the route he wanted to go down. And as we've seen, the Wrexham owners have done exactly what he could have done, and they've done it first. And no one's going to repeat that. You're not going to have another Wrexham, because the story's been told. The story's been, they've done the story. They've told the story very well. They've sold the story, and they've got names like Hewlett Packard and whatever all over their shirts. So, that opportunity's gone, and it's not going to come around again.
It could be a cheaper, less Welsh version.
Well, I mean, Wrexham. When we went there away, I was surprised how small it is, and I just couldn't believe where they are, and that they've certainly done a fantastic marketing job with their marketing thing.
Their chief operating officer said that they've got a massive catchment area, because everyone in North Wales goes across the water to go to either Manchester or Liverpool, and he says if he managed to keep them in North Wales, they've got a few 100,000 people there that could switch to Wrexham on a Saturday or whatever. So, and he's not wrong. They are in the middle of a big catchment area.
And the fact that it's Wales is a big thing, because the fact that it's Wales is a big thing as well, because as we know, from visiting Welsh clubs, there's a lot of national pride there, and if they can harness that national pride and stop Welsh people from supporting English teams, they've got a huge opportunity. Realistically, we're not going to appeal to that many people, sort of neutrals off the island.
Okay, so there's two more sections I want to discuss before we wrap up. The owner funding question, which obviously caused a lot of consternation with people about this switch from equity funding to loans. And also distribution of share equity to sons, which has been explained several times as being absolutely perfectly normal and nothing to get worried about. So their 8-year total, Reece, is 45 million into the club to pay for infrastructure work and player purchases. I don't know whether we know this, but does this mean the increased wage budget is being funded from revenue and the player sales are from owner funding, or is everything being done from extra owning funding? Does the club have a chance in hell without the Eisners topping things up of washing its face every year?
I don't think many clubs do, to be honest, in the Championship, because it's so competitive, and you've got owners like Stoke who are backed by the Bet365 people. You've got Bristol. I mean, they have put hundreds of millions of pounds into their club, and they're still in the Championship. I think unless you've got a massive stadium, you're a massive club. I think it for us, we just can't. It is impossible for us to compete without losing money every season in the Championship. And at the moment, that also say that was all pumped through equity. Yes, they slightly changed it to a loan, but I think that's more to do with kind of tax planning because Michael Eisner's not very well, so I'm not really worried about it. So I think whatever happens, I mean, I think any fan would say they would not object to somebody coming in better, but I just don't. I'm not convinced they're not lining up. We've been waiting 50, 60, 70 years for somebody to come in with a fan or somebody like that to come in the billions, and that they just don't exist. It's who do you sell it to? That's the big thing, which fans all seem to conveniently forget. You still got the problem of the capacity and the lack of corporate funding. So really, you're looking at a new North Terrace. A new North Terrace is going to be 80 to 100 million. How do you fund that? Because that's real money. And then you've got to, if you're going to look to then increase the playing budget, you're going to have to put even more millions in. So realistically, you've got to find an owner with 200 million who's going to fund it. And where are those people? And how are they going to fund it? Are they going to put, maybe we are just a kind of top League One bottom Championship club as opposed to a mid-table Championship club, which I think we were before. But I think it's a real hard question.
That would be
Really hard.
fine. That would be fine without statements from Isa saying we're going to be Premiership in 8 years,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? I mean, if he was being honest, and they've said we wouldn't. They also said we wouldn't be a yo-yo club as well. So their ambition has always been get to Championship, stay in the Championship, not bounce up and down
absolutely.
and sort ourselves out. So if the rhetoric from the club is that we are going to succeed year on year and year and year, where and the money doesn't stack up to prove that that's possible, then they're not being honest with the fans or the fan base, are they? If they had turned around and said, look, for the next 3 years, we're going to really struggle to stay in the Championship. We'll do our best, but it's not possible. The state of the club, revenue-wise, is not that. I'm not going to loan the club, £20 million tomorrow in order to buy enough players or pay the wages to get people up. If they'd have just said what and been honest about what you've just described, then people would be up in arms for a while and then probably be a little bit more settled about it.
They wouldn't. They'll just go, get out. They'd say, goodbye. They'd sell. But what's the point? Because you've got no ambition.
The bottom line.
Eisner has always said all the way along.
The bottom line is.
Well, I think that's what they're doing now, though. That's what they said they would do. This is why I think the next couple of years are critical to them because they have been increasing the playing budget. We're now in the Championship. If we survive, that's the first thing. You've got that incremental bit, no matter how small it is, it means get bigger, progress, go up the table effectively. So this is where he's either got to put his money where his mouth is or he will sell. I can't see him coming out with a statement like that because fans will just go, we'll sell then, what's the point, etc., etc. So the thing at the moment is fans don't think they're spending enough.
Not spending enough of his money.
Yeah.
Which is the bottom line.
Of his money, yeah.
If you look at someone, you talked about the you talked earlier about Stoke and the amount of money Stoke have spent to effectively stay still. But the Coates family, they're Stoke City fans. They will keep pumping money into that club because they love that club and they have a lot of money. Michael Eisner doesn't love Portsmouth. It's a business thing for him, and I don't know why people think he's just suddenly going to go, well, I've got X number of $1 million in the bank. I'm just going to take $100 million of those. I'm just going to gift them to this team that I never go and watch. That's on the other side of the world. It's just not going to happen. And people say they want sustainability. That isn't sustainability. That's someone throwing money at it. So the dichotomy of the Championship is you cannot be successful and sustainable under the current current climate. And they are right in saying unless things change, that's not going to happen. But realistically, is it going to change? Because have we seen, sporting regulators, how much power are they going to have? I don't see the Championship suddenly becoming this place where, you know, a little club and a big club are competing on the same footage. And as Reece says, it's the what else, isn't it? It's the absolutely what else. Do people want the club to be in hock to, you know, financial institutions? Do they want us to be £200 million in debt or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah.
I've just got a very quick question before we move on, because we've probably done this little section to death, to be honest. So just you're talking about money in, Phil, and this.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do this to you alone, and a quickish answer if possible. And this is a devil's advocate question. I don't believe this for a moment, but it's a question that I've heard asked. So what safeguards do we have on the loans if, when Eisner Senior no longer calls the shots for whatever reason, that they then won't be required to be paid by the subsequent person or people in charge? What safeguards are there, if any?
Well, there's no written safeguards at all. There's no legal safeguards. The biggest safeguard is the fact that it's an unsecured loan, because and what they've said is that unsecured loan will only ever be paid back when the club is able to financially do so. Now, if they called in that loan, they'd put the club out of business. Now, then they'd lose all their money because it's an unsecured loan, and that money would, Tornante or Michael or the three brothers or whatever, they put them in line with all of the other creditors of the club, you know, catering companies, the people that supply the teas and coffee, you know, all of these things. They would all have to accept pence in the pound, so they would be losing a huge chunk of money. If it was secured, it's very different, because suddenly that puts you right up to the top. So if it was secured against the assets of the club, you would be rightfully worried. But it's not. So there's nothing. It's not in their interests to try and call in that loan, because the club can't afford to pay that loan. And if the club can't afford to pay the loan, the club goes out of business and they fall into line with everyone else. But in answer to the question, what are the safeguards? Unless, I don't know what the contract says, the legal side of it says. But in my head, there's nothing I don't see how there could be anything in writing that stops them necessarily, unless there's something in the contract that says.
Essentially, the safeguard is that if they wanted their money back, it would kill the club
and kill them.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for colouring that in. So the very last point here. So I've gone to the overall picture. The club needs owner funding via loans to bolster squad and support player trading model, which is not quite working yet and producing the required profits. So I'll say what. So this was in the BBC article last week, wasn't it? Somebody's picked up on Eisner's Prophet of Doom quotes. I'll read what Michael Eisner said a couple of weeks ago. There are dark clouds hovering over the English football pyramid, and it seems to me there could be a real collapse where only the Premier League survives. Every single club in the Championship lost money last year. The combined operating loss of the 24 teams for the last full set of published results for 2023-24 was 411 million. No club can survive for the long term in the system, and if that continues, catastrophe will happen. If the forces that control the pyramid from the top tiers to the bottom tiers do not make football much more sustainable and do it quickly, those dark clouds will deliver more soaking red ink beyond what one can imagine. We need effective player salary cost controls, real attention to fairer distribution of media revenues, and for English football to join the rest of the sports world in more advanced commercialisation of the broadcast and streaming project, which we think we all agree was one of the big things for him buying the football club as a business, as you say, in the first place. My family is walking headstrong into this storm, but if I was a historic fan in Portsmouth, I'd scream for change in the structure to protect the beautiful game in our clubs and their communities for generations to come. I had a few questions on this, but I think the only one that we can end on tonight is the one that's really pertinent. If every club is using the player trading model as a template, and the losses in the Championship are still nearly 500 million and growing, then that model isn't working for anyone, is it? Really?
But the player trading model isn't this set in stone load of principles. Player trading model means different things to different clubs. Our version of the player trading model, Brighton's idea of the player trading model, Brentford's player trading model, they're all very, very different. So this idea of it being a one size fits all, it very much isn't.
So what do we attribute the huge losses in the Championship that are growing to? Then is Is it player wages? Is it transfer fees? Is it a combination of both? Why are clubs willing to, like? I think it was Southampton released their totals today, and it was 50 million plus, wasn't it, for last season?
Yeah, but this is the thing. I think that what I just said is right, but it assumes that there's nobody else to pay off and fund the losses, and at the moment there are. So apart from him, possibly, but generally clubs are in debt. The Coates family at Stoke, they wrote off a £90 million loan this week. How very nice for them. So I think that the doom and gloom, I think, is likely, but it assumes that there's nobody else to kind of basically chuck money down the drain, and maybe that pool is drying up. I mean, we speak about last season, our losses were 4 million, and we finished 16th. To me, prudent financial management. Yes, okay, you say we did it on the cheap. Well, surely every owner, if they could get the same result for less money, they would do it, wouldn't they? So I think the thing is, it's got to work. And I think when you're operating at the bottom of the market as we are, everything has to work. So the recruitment has to be absolutely spot on. And I just don't think it quite has been this year. And the injuries, I think that's contributed towards kind of where we are. But when you are at the bottom, you've got less errors or less margin of error. And I think that's kind of why we're in the predicament we're in. So
Phil, I think we'll end on this question. Do we think that what's more likely to happen, catastrophe or reform? What's going to happen first, do you think?
I don't think either. I think there'll be a little. I think there'll be a little. Yeah, I do. I think it'd be a little. Maybe there may be a little from one. There'll be another Sheffield Wednesday. There'll be some nods to sustainability and financial, fairness, and everything will just reset itself like it's done in the Premier League. I mean, they said about all of the people find a way around things in order to make more money or to spend more money. You look at Chelsea selling themselves their hotel. The things with women's football teams where they'll just find more creative ways to spend more money. And the problem we've got is people are spending too much money. We know that. That's the problem. But they're never going to. I don't think they're ever going to be able to reform it to sort of create this mythical even playing field that everyone supposedly wants.
So I suppose if we take that answer as likely, if Eisner is hanging his Pompey future on reform, and we probably agree it's not going to come, what's going to happen? Are we just going to get relegated to League One and stay there because he won't throw money at it? The required amount of money, because I can't believe we can at the level of spending we are and keep trying to stay up every season. I don't think our luck's going to hold out either this season or next season for long. So is Eisner not going to get to the nirvana he wants?
No. We'll never get to the nirvana he wants. And what we will be, I think, is we will turn into the thing that Eric Eisner said he never wants to be, which is a yo-yo club. And that's what we'll be. We'll bounce around between the lower reaches of the Championship and the upper reaches of League One. And that will be our place in the world.
And as you earlier said, the Mushies would not have that.
No, he won't have it at all.
So then what happens? Well, we can have, we can have protests and people flying planes over Fratton Park again and all that nonsense.
Yeah. There'll be more like we said, more of the same.
More of the same. Okay, well that's encouraging. That's encouraging future to look forward to. More of the same. Anything to add to that, Reece? Could you brighten us before we finish?
No, I think we've got a few games left. I mean, I think it's going to be. I think the Eisners will probably be more likely to maybe sell up if we get relegated. But I mean, he's always been pretty true to his word. But I say he's not going to be around forever. I must confess. I mean, the Premier League statement was a surprise, but he's laid his marker down. Nobody made him say it. The fans will absolutely rightly pick him up on it and judge him on it. So let's see where we go. But I think this season, we've got to stay up to kind of have a continue on the trajectory, and then we'll see what happens in the summer and with the signings and things. But maybe this could be their year of learning of actually, hey guys, wake up. This is what you need. Okay, we've got the evidence. We now need to spend more. Maybe they will, but how long for it without massively increasing the kind of turnover through match day spending, corporate, new North Stand, etc. It's hard. It's a difficult path ahead, without a shadow of a doubt. So We'll see, but at the end of the day, we'll be there supporting the club, highs and lows. We've been in worse situations, so
we will
so, yeah.
absolutely. Well, yeah, that's a very, very, very well made point. So Middlesbrough and is it Ipswich on Tuesday? It is, isn't it? Next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Quick predictions, please. You go first, Phil.
6 points.
6 points. That's a note to end on. Reese?
No, we're going to beat Middlesbrough. We're going to beat Middlesbrough.
Yeah,
Okay.
we got a really good result against Middlesbrough. I think we haven't lost in 8 games, so I think I'll go draw Middlesbrough and a feisty 1-0 win at home to Ipswich.
Yeah,
I think Ipswich is going to get postponed
again.
Yeah, I really hope it does.
We're never going to play it. We're never going to play
I think
it.
it's going to get.
They're going to get enough points to get promoted, and they'll say, right, we don't want to play it now.
I want it to get called off at 7:43 p.m. That's what I want to wind them up even more.
Okay, fair enough. No, I'm hoping for 4 points, although I think it'll be 2 at the most, but we'll see. I mean, I was encouraged by Saturday, but we as we've said, lack of consistency this season. We're up and down and up and down and up and down, and we're not quite there yet. But Leicester can't seem to buy a win either. So we've just got to keep getting 1 point ahead of them. That's all we need to do. And Oxford. Right. Cheers, guys. Thanks very much. That was a good episode. Once again, we'll hopefully be back in 2 weeks. I'm sure we will be discussing some Pompey wins. So a very good night to you all. And cheers, guys, for helping me out today.
I've got something to add, which needs to be added.
Oh, go on.
I've been let down by ChatGPT. It was 42 points, including before the points deduction. So we actually finished the season on 32 points, but Reece still blew it.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a bit more.
And on that bombshell, we will say good night, everyone. Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.